Welcome to action from the 2016 Big Dog Dart Tournament. It's an American-style singles competition with no handicaps. Match 15 of the day pits Chris Keuhn against Kenny Johnson. Chris advanced to this game through Dan Sullivan. Kenny by defeating Jason Crow. At this stage of the tournament, the field of undefeated players also includes Timmy Johnson and Bob Shirey. Players each shoot one dart at the cork to determine the shooting order for the first game. In this case, Kenny is closest to cork, and he chooses to shoot hammer, which brings Chris up to the line for the first inning. Red, red, red for a bucket of blood to begin the game. Kenny counters with a red, red, and bucket of blood of his own. Second inning, Chris continues to pound the red with his first two darts, missing with his third. The first 8 darts of the match are all reds. I think these guys have the game all figured out. Ken's second dart catches the wire and slides into the red. He puts up 4 in his half of the inning. Chris first dart single, second dart red. Third dart kicks away, no points for that. First dart red again for Ken. Second dart slides off into the 7th inning. And a trip with his third dart, so he picks up 5 for the bottom of the inning. That puts him ahead 15-13 at the end of the first stanza. Chris is having problems sticking his third dart. He picks up 4 in the top of the 4th. First dart red. Second dart red. Third dart red. Bucket of blood again. Kenny's just solidly banging the reds. Chris plants a single, goes on top of it for a red, finishes the inning with another red. 5 points for him. First dart trip. Second dart trip. And he nails it. Ken Johnson hits a white horse in the top of the 5th. Chris misses his first dart and comes back with 2 trips in the 6th inning. First dart red. Second dart slides off into the single. Ken goes to the right, comes back across his body, lands his third dart in the trip. He's built himself a 36-28 lead going into the final stanza. Chris with a red, a trip, and another red. 7 points. Strong way to start the final stretch. Ken Johnson, first dart red. Second dart single. Now he goes over to his left to come back at the board. And he manages to stick his final dart. Wonderful shot, 6 points for him. Time's running out for Chris. First dart in the blue, second dart, he does land his trip, picks up points with his third dart. Give him 5 for that inning. Kenny Johnson misses on his first dart, second dart trip. Third dart trip. So despite Chris's 5, Kenny picks up an extra point, pads his lead, going into the 9th. Trip, blue, trip, 6 points for Chris. He puts up a 46 for the game. He wasn't able to reach Kenny Johnson, who comes into this with a 48. First dart red, second dart trip, so he's in the 50s. Lands another red. 7 points to finish the game. 54 points for Kenny Johnson. That leads him to victory in game 1 of the match. Same shooting order for game number 2. Chris comes out firing. First dart trip, second dart red, points with his third dart. He looks a little disappointed, but 6 to begin the game. Ken counters with his own first dart trip. Single with his second dart. Let's see if he can land a red and keep pace. He goes a little deep, lands in the blue. He's down by 2 after 1. Chris picks up a point with his first 2 darts, lands his third dart in the trip, walks away with 4 points for the second inning. Ken is high and a little bit to the right with his first dart. Lands a deep red with dart number 2, and puts a dart right on top of that for his second red and his 4th point of the inning. Deep red for Chris with his first dart and a 3. Another red with his second dart. Gets a bad kiss with his third dart off into the 19. 2 reds gives him 4 points for the third. Kenny starts with a deep red in his third. Puts a dart on top of it for another red, 4 points with 1 dart remaining, and he sticks it. Bucket of blood, 6 points. That catches him up. We are tied going into the 4th, where Chris comes out firing. Trip, trip, trip. Now he has a white horse in this match as well, and a 9-point lead. Kenny goes a little deep in the 4th, sticks his first dart in the blue. Comes back with a deep red, and lands his third dart on top of that red, giving him 5. He's down 4 going into the 5th. Chris leads off with a red. Follows up with a second red, and gets a bad kiss with his third dart. So he picks up 4 for the top of the 5th. This gives Ken an opportunity. First dart red. He lays his second dart right on top. That's good for a trip. And he finishes the inning strong. 7 points in the bottom of the 5th. That cuts into Chris's lead, but Chris is undeterred. First dart trip in the 6th. Second dart for points. Third dart kicks out into the blue. Kenny's first dart is a little too deep, landing in the blue. Hits a trip with dart number 2, and with dart number 3, goes safe, picks up some points, gets 2, 5 for the inning. Things are tied 31-31, so that white horse has been erased. And heading into the final stanza, Chris is hitting his darts. Trip, red, trip. That gives him 8. He's right back at it. Jumping into the lead. Ken misses his first dart in the blue. Finds a red with his second dart. Manages to stick a trip with his third, so he's down 3, heading into the 8th. Chris, solid first dart trip. Second dart red. Third dart trip, back-to-back 8s. Ken comes back with his own first dart trip. Second dart trip. He moves over, looks like he's going for the red, and he nails that, so he counters an 8 with an 8. Chris's first dart is deep in the blue. His second one is in the blue as well. Lands his third dart right in the middle of the red. That gives him 2. Ken is looking at 5 to tie, 6 to win. First dart trip. Second dart red. 1 will win this. And he hits it.
I didn't try that far in. Honest to God, I didn't.
Game 2 comes down to the final dart. And despite posting back-to-back 8s during the final stanza, Chris just couldn't keep his lead over Kenny Johnson, who finished with 14 points in the last 2 innings to catch him and walk away with a 50-49 victory. Kenny continues on in the undefeated bracket, where he will meet the winner of Timmy Johnson, Bob Shirey, and Chris will see his next action in the one-loss bracket.